What sound does a flamingo make?
Josh, what sound does a flamingo make? You're a big flamingo guy, I know that.
Man, maybe like that. That's my best guess.
If it doesn't, it does now. That's yep, that's right. That's 100%.
I'll add that into my repertoire of bird sounds.
I think we should play flamingo sounds over that, please, because they've got to be different. I think I might have missed a little. Just a little bit. Just a little.
Welcome back to The Flop, the place where we dive into business failures and hope to learn something while doing so. My name is Wes Rissell, and here with me I have my two co-hosts and good buds, Tyler Cope and Josh Bowman. How we doing, guys?
Doing great. Thanks, Wes. How are you?
Living the dream. Living the dream. For everyone out there, be sure to like and subscribe on all social media platforms and YouTube and Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, because that's where we hang out. We have an exciting guest here with us today, Amantha. Amantha has a company that works with pharmacies. I won't steal the glory of her getting to explain the background of it, but we're going to go into her story a little bit, some struggles she might have faced when setting that up, and as she looks to grow. So with that being said,
let's talk about drugs.
Yeah,
there we go.
There we go. Okay, I love it. All right. Amantha, how are we doing today?
Doing fantastic. Can't complain. It's awesome being a drug lord. How are you guys doing today?
Wait, do you prefer drug lord or drug queen? It's drug lord, right?
I like drug lord.
Fair enough. I'll make sure we respect that.
So now for everybody's favorite segment, fails of the week. Everybody, how did we fail this week? Who wants to kick it off first?
I got this. I failed hardest, so let me go first. So this week, I got really soaked about some AI stuff, and I told a manager in charge of a team of people who does technical writing. I asked her, "Hi, are you concerned about your team no longer being needed in the next month or two?"
No further explanation needed, Bowman.
Oh.
How did it turn out? I am curious.
Well, she responded exactly how I should have anticipated, which was with a bit of fear and a bit of follow-up and a lot of questions. And I was like, I'm so sorry. What I meant was like, hey, friend, who I have a close relationship with, just want to make sure you're leaning to like management, maybe a little more than technical writing, because what I'm seeing is technical writing is gone like next week. And she's like, that's not helping. So I a little bit of panic attack. Now I got to go talk to like her boss and her boss's boss about my thoughts. So it was not a good, I feel really bad.
Digging a hole.
I just kept digging.
Mine's nowhere close to that. I've been doing a lot of traveling for our research project, site visits, and
Wanderlust
for traveling around to those. And I made the usual mistake of staying up too late and the night before, multiple site visits in one day. And I've all of a sudden found myself on the spin cycle of caffeine where you get up with no sleep, you pound caffeine all the way throughout the day and into the night, and then you can't sleep, and then you go again, site visits the next day, and you just continue to do that. And then before you know it, you have insomnia, and that's where I'm at right now. Wes knows a thing or two about insomnia being a dad.
Well, you know what, Cope, before, like back in the day, if I texted you after 9 o'clock, 9:30, I wasn't getting a response back until 7 in the morning the next day, 6 in the morning. And now you respond to my text at like 11 o'clock. I'm like, well, who is this dude? Who is this guy?
I've lost it, man.
He's a fiend for the caffeine, man. He's on it.
You should really avoid caffeine after 12. And actually, when you wake up, you shouldn't reach for caffeine first. You should have water the first hour before jumping into your coffee or tea.
Tell him, Amantha.
My girl Huberman's.
Let's go.
Definitely. I agree, Amantha. I couldn't agree with you more on that. And that used to be my lifestyle, and I don't know where I slipped, but now this is where I'm at. So maybe if there's drugs that can combat that, that would be great. But
there's just a national drug shortage of Adderall right now, so I don't know what to do for you anymore. Fail of the week. I missed an investor meeting completely. I was visiting a pharmacy and I was like, man, who's this like random 323 number calling me? I'm not going to let it interrupt my customer visit. And then shortly after I got back in the car, I'm checking the voicemail They're like, hey, are you hopping on? I'm like, hopping on what? I checked my email, and surely enough, they had said, a few weeks back, I was scheduled for this exact time and slot.
Amantha, can I say this? It could have been a power move, right? Because now you're signaling to investors that you were so important that you didn't have time for that meeting. And now they're probably scrambling, trying to see, oh gosh, should we give her more money?
Not that Amantha finds herself important, but she was visiting the customer. She puts her customer before anyone else. They don't even need a meeting. They should just invest right now.
Yes.
So someone told me as a CEO, C, you put your customers first, E, you put your employees second, and O, you put your officers last.
Ooh.
So in that order. And I do like to believe, like, if you do take care of your customers and your employees, then, the money will come through and your officers and investors will be happy too.
You need to send that in an email to them. Oh man, I feel like mine's going to be so weak compared to these. So my fail of the week is another one with my computer. For the last episode, I told of not knowing how to change my LED lights, spending 2 hours trying to download different software to change them when there was a physical button on the device itself. I failed to mention that I also tried to get 2 monitors plugged in, couldn't figure out how to do it, bought a device, played around with it for about an hour, and just realized the device wasn't plugged in all the way. So Amantha, why don't we go over the general overview of your business, just so the viewers and the listeners kind of know exactly a little bit more about your company.
Hi, viewers. My name is Amantha Bagden, aka Drug Lord. I am founder and CEO of RX Poost. It's an inventory sharing platform where we make it easy for pharmacies to legally buy and sell surplus medication. There's a lot of attention around grocery stores and food wastage, but the same exact thing happens in our healthcare system with medications. I've seen the system work at chains where they're more efficiently redistributing the medications to where they need to go. And after working at independent pharmacy for most of my career, I saw that same advantage could be given to independent community pharmacies if we built out the network and if we made it really simple.
Food waste is one thing, and I think people can resonate with that because everybody wastes food, right? Unfortunately, it seems like such an untapped market and such a cool one, just because you're messing with some drugs.
Yeah, and it's difficult because a lot of pharmacies, they have to stock these life-saving medications. But what happens when our patients have to leave to go to mail order, or there's the new shiny drug that comes out, like your average or local mom and pop pharmacy, they can lose up to $115,000 a year on letting their drugs go to waste. And so $115,000 a year could really mean the difference between them making payroll or having to shutter their doors to their communities.
And that's $115,000 a year. That is significant.
Yeah. In the US, it's like somewhere between 13 billion, and then globally, we waste a devastating $40 billion a year. Everyone's paying for it. We're overproducing medications. They're ending up incinerated when we can't find the smartest way to get them into the hands of patients. And so building this network where we're really connecting all the stakeholders is a great way to use collaboration, efficiency, and optimization to reduce costs and better serve communities.
Yeah.
Amantha, could you describe the process of how a surplus drug at one independent pharmacy goes from them to another independent pharmacy that needs that drug, and how you help make that happen?
Yeah, so right now it's a pretty simple marketplace. We've created a web app where pharmacies, they're always in front of their desktop, so we're just one more browser tab open for them. They go on, create an account in less than 15 minutes and scan the product they have for sale. We do suggested pricing to another pharmacy. And once it's purchased, they can go on, print a shipping label, and it goes directly from one pharmacy to the next.
It almost seems like you guys are the Amazon of drugs, right?
Or maybe the eBay.
Yeah, I would say similar to eBay, but it's nice because we're working with just businesses and the professionalism is definitely there.
How does it like from a regulatory standpoint to be able to do that? Because this isn't, we aren't shipping lunch boxes to and fro from each other. We're dealing with drugs here. So what's that look like?
Yeah, so there's actually a carve out in FDA rules and regulations that say a pharmacy is allowed to transfer medication to another pharmacy to meet a specific patient need. The past 10 years, the federal government has worked really hard to implement like a standardized way of tracking and tracing medication bottles to prevent counterfeit drugs from entering the supply chain. So now is actually like a great opportunity because every single bottle is serialized.
It's really cool. You have almost like a ledger of all the places that the drug has been. That's it.
Almost like a maybe blockchain.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds a little blockchain.
That'd been an amazing 2021 pitch, for investors. Now think about this company, but now imagine it on the blockchain. Money appears.
When's the IPO, Amantha? Or not IPO, ICO. Dang, I messed up my question. The initial coin offering.
What's ICO?
Yeah, it's like an IPO, but instead of going on the stock exchange, you offer a cryptocurrency instead.
It's initial coin offering.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I would not have known the answer anyway.
we got to put on the blockchain.
So I'm imagining from my perspective, I'm the consumer, right? I buy drugs from CVS and wherever else that's nearby, whatever's convenient, right? So I have a prescription for, say, Adderall, just so I can make sure my devs stay wired. And they're just kidding. I would never do that. But I have a prescription for some drugs, let's say, when they're texting me like every day, like, come pick this up. I'm like, I'm too lazy. I don't have time. I don't actually need it, right? And it just sits there. And then it's like 10 days later, they're like, well, we got this now. And he doesn't want it. Is that the drug that maybe gets sent to a different pharmacy? Like, what do they do with it?
Yeah, so if it hasn't left the pharmacy, so we see, for example, my pharmacy orders Humira and the patient decides, I'm not quite sure if I'm comfortable with some of the side effects. I'm not going to take the medication. And then the pharmacy is like, well, cool. Maybe another psoriasis patient who needs this exact drug regimen is going to come in within the next year or two before this drug expires. And it's kind of just like this waiting game, hoping game. If they have a network of pharmacies in their area, like our independent pharmacy did in Beverly Hills, we'll call up, a few friends in the area and say, look, we no longer have a patient that's on the psoriasis drug, but do you? And if you do you want to buy this medication from us at a discount? Because if we don't end up dispensing this $15,000 drug before it expires, we're going to have to take the loss.
I would never think that the pharmacy would be kind of stuck with the bill.
Yeah, they're stuck with the bill. I'm not sure if you follow, but there's a lot of national attention around like PBM abuse. Insurance companies are not even paying pharmacies enough to cover the cost of like individual prescriptions.
Amantha, could you explain like I'm 5? What is a PBM?
PBM is a pharmacy benefits manager. When they started, it was very well intentioned. Employers had to offer medical and pharmacy benefits to their employees. So they would sign up with a company like Blue Shield, and Blue Shield would have to negotiate all these contracts with individual pharmacies about what they would reimburse. PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers, came around and said, hey, we'll do all the negotiation for you, and then you just pay us like an account management fee. I think the system worked at the beginning, but what happened was it went unchecked. So then the PBMs started to offer less reimbursement to the pharmacies, and then they were charging the insurance companies more. And there was no transparency. Mm-hmm. So no one could say, well, you're overcharging us, because there was no access to that information.
It sounds like we don't like PBMs, or they need to...
Or at least how they're functioning right now.
You can form your own opinions on the information that I've shared and any information that you can find online.
I'll just say it. We're down with PBMs. We need we need open access to their books. PBMs quit being crooked.
I think just drug pricing altogether, right? Like, could you imagine going to the grocery store to buy an apple and you ask, how much does this apple cost? then you just get a list of like 10 different prices and you don't know which one you're going to pay.
In this example, when I want it to be when Tyler goes to the grocery store and he wants to buy an apple, I run up and I stand between him and the apples. And I'm like, oh, an apple. Ah, no problem. Here's 5 options. And I and I increase it on both sides. Is that close? I'm imagining how can I scam Tyler in this scenario?
Well, I mean, if we want to get into prior authorizations, in that example, Tyler would go to the store to buy an apple, and Josh, you would run up and just knock that apple out of his hand and say, no, you get an orange. It's like, well, I don't need an orange.
This sounds like fun.
That is the healthcare system that we have.
I'm just saying real quick, I'd be fine being a PBM. I wouldn't be against them at all.
What? Bowman.
We can't be friends.
As long as I can smack that orange out of Tyler's hand. No, I'm just kidding.
But, on the bright side, I'm super hopeful for the profession of pharmacy because there's just a lot of really cool stuff happening on the horizon. Unfortunately, silver lining of COVID, you could walk into a pharmacy, get tested, receive a positive test result that pharmacist is qualified to read that test and then prescribe you medication. I was at an event last night where I was speaking to someone. He's like, why can't I walk into a pharmacy and test for bronchitis and have the pharmacist like write me an antibiotic? Why is it that I have to schedule 2 to 3 hours off my work day to go to urgent care only to end up at the pharmacy anyway to get the medication that I need? And I said, well, that is where the profession is heading.
I feel like we need more and more and more of that in our healthcare system. Like, it's notorious that you go to the doctor's office, your appointment's at 12, you don't see them till 2. You're there talking with them for 5 minutes, and they're not talking about you. They're talking about, all right, we're going to start you on this drug. Okay, we'll see you in a year. Where, like you said, I mean, the pharmacists, you see them at least once a month, and then they can almost have that conversation over and over and over again. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of opportunities.
When you go in to get tested for something, right? You go in, to your local mom and pop, whatever that version of CVS, so it's Bowman's Drugs. And are there prepackaged like drug tests, kind of like a COVID test, right? Or it's like, hey, I got my COVID test, now I can get my medicine. I'm imagining like a little like compact test to see, do I have common diseases? Like, are common problems? Is that becoming more prevalent?
It's called point of care testing. So there's a whole array of different machines, a whole array of different kits, a whole array of different ways to test, like saliva, blood, urine, and they can test for flu, they can test for strep, they can test A1C, but it really depends on what that pharmacy decides to get trained on, what machine they decide to invest in. But there is one machine that can do up to 25 different tests, right? Like you have to buy the different kits for it.
Josh, can I give you a little lean into the future? I've heard rumor that there's now a test you can take at pharmacies. I think it's at CV, or maybe it's Walgreens. It's only a single drop of blood, and you can screen for over 500 different conditions.
Wow.
Oh my God, take my money. Take my money.
Tyler, you beat me to the punch with the Theranos, man. You beat me to the punch with the Theranos.
I feel bad for Theranos. I think they were just like a little bit before their time and for sure like lied about way too much, but the technology will exist probably within the next 10, 20 years.
Well, yeah, I remember when that was all going down, a lot of the researchers, there's multiple researchers that look into like minimally invasive testing and things along those lines. They were pissed because now like the drop of blood idea is something that is now a joke, as evident by we just made a joke about it.
Where are the problem?
I mean, if that actually existed, that'd be really cool, which is why she was able to secure so much funding. Amantha, what I was thinking we'd hop into next is surrounding some of the struggles you ran into with starting your company and how it's been growing over the past few years.
Probably mistake number one, like I was alone in interviewing dev shops, didn't know what I was doing. Like I talked to 20 people and I felt like I was doing my due diligence. Really what would have helped was being connected to other founders. Like I didn't even know this realm existed of networking with other startup companies. From there, went with a very boutique designer developer firm got a product built, went way over time, over budget, and actually had to tap in one of the original students from the capstone project to come back. And now he's my founding engineer.
Awesome.
Yeah, whether he likes it or not, he knows a lot about pharmacy. So, like misstep number one, not talking to enough of the right people. All the people that I had surrounded myself with were extremely successful running existing large businesses. And that's just a really different strategy and approach than a scrappy startup. And so, like, for an example, hiring talent at a big company, you're going to want to attract top talent by paying top dollar. It's great advice. It's just not good advice for where the company was at its stage. I would say probably like one of the recurring themes is not finding the right people that match where like your company is to get advice from.
Yeah, that makes sense, because if you're talking to people who have even like 500 employees, how do I attract developers? And they all pay them money. And you're like, what money? I don't have any money to pay them right now.
Yeah, and the other thing is like you ask 10 people for advice and you get 10 different pieces of advice. The most important thing I've learned is make decisions quickly and then adjust quickly. Don't get analysis paralysis. Don't sit on like making sure you get it right the first time. Like make that hire. Maybe it's not going to be the best hire, but learn quickly. I think there used to be like this old sentiment of hire slowly, fire fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now it's just hire fast, fire fast. Is what I'm hearing.
Do both.
And I feel like that kind of works.
I feel like there's been a lot more leaning into the speed aspect behind it, right? Like find the right people. And if they're not the right people, then get rid of them. It parallels a lot of what we kind of heard in our last interview. If you haven't watched that yet, click that button here. What's the landscape looking like for you and your company now, Amantha? How do you guys see yourself growing in the next, year to 5 years?
So it's really exciting. We've gotten our lead investor check-in. We've gotten to an accelerator program, which comes with a nice check and just a lot of resources. I understand the marketplace model is a little bit of a heavy lift. And so we want to make it even easier for our pharmacies. And what that looks like is how are we tapping into the data and use it really efficiently and optimize it? So what that looks like is tracking what pharmacies are ordering from all their wholesalers and then also tracking all the dispensing history. We will see what the demand is and we can actually identify the supply side and automate that connection. We'll tell Bowman, hey, you're sitting on stuff. Inventory on your shelf is money on the shelf. Mm. Do you want to sell it? This is the price you should sell it at. And then we'll just notify Wes. So that's where we really see RX Poost making the leap this year. Automating those connections, really minimizing the amount of waste that any pharmacy will have at any given time. And then, what that looks like for the broader healthcare system in the next 2-3 years.
Making like a really efficient marketplace, essentially.
We have an example right now where progesterone, there's a drug shortage of it right now. We reached out to our network of pharmacies and say, hey, do you have this sitting on your shelf that you're not using for your patients currently? And no surprise, the answer was yes from a few people. And we've been able to get that medication to the pharmacies that have demand for it and get the patients' prescriptions filled.
That's awesome.
I can tell you're pumped about this too. Like you got a real founder product. I'm like, oh, I love it. That's awesome.
I'm really excited about pharmacy. I'm really active in pharmacy legislation and advocacy at the local levels. I appreciate RX Poost and what we're doing now and what we will do in the future. There's broader policy changes that need to occur in order to really support and uplift community pharmacies into the future.
Yeah, I think that's huge because I can attest. I don't think I've ever been in a community pharmacy. I think I've always gone through CVS or Walgreens or wherever.
Why? Can I ask why? Why is it that you love standing in line at 30 minutes at CVS only to find out that your prescription's still not ready?
I'm not here to say CVS is the best because I don't really truly believe that. That's just what I grew up with. But now, next time I need a prescription filled, I'm going to find a local pharmacy and be like, Amantha sent me.
Hell yeah.
If there's one hope I have from being on the podcast is that, just a few people switch over to finding a local pharmacy to support.
Well, Amantha, right now our audience might be quite small. And so what I can tell you is all of our moms that are watching can start to do that. But I totally agree with the mission.
Were there any other lessons that you learned as you started this company that we haven't talked about yet?
Don't be afraid to ask for help. So I think, like leaning on the people around you and asking for help when you need it. Like sometimes when sales are slow, finding out what's working for some of their other companies that's not working for yours. Like I don't have like a full blown marketing department. So always leaning on other people to find out, hey, like what marketing resources should I be focusing on? Especially when it's come to hiring, leaning on other founders in my space and my advisors to see like what's the advice you have around finding the right fit, finding the right motives, finding the right alignments, and then always being receptive to what they're saying.
It's great that you have those investors that are so well invested in you and the company, because I feel like you hear horror stories all the time where the idea was the investor was going to be an active investor and they end up being more of a passive one. Kind of well, I needed some help here, Well, that does it for the interview portion of today's podcast. Next, let's hop into everybody's favorite segment, Find the Flop. All right, Bowman, take her away.
All right. Thank you, Wesley. So sometimes timing is truly everything. And that's one of these things that these companies maybe didn't know enough about. So I'm going to read you off 4 different companies, 3 questions. And the goal of the game is to find the flop. So you got to figure out which of these companies that I'm reading out to you flopped spectacularly. We keep track week over week of who is winning. Right now, the guests are absolutely crushing. Wes is at 10 and Tyler is losing at 3.
No, it's 11-4. 11-4.
Oh, excuse me. Let me update my newest spreadsheet.
It might be 10-4, but sure, 11-4.
It's definitely not 10-4.
Right now, Wes is at 11, Tyler is at 4, and guests are absolutely winning. So let's kick it off. All right, so here are the first 4. This is a personal transportation mistimed market. First company, Bird Rides Incorporated. Electric scooters. It's a sharing service for short distance travel. Number 2, Segway. No additional information. Number 3, Zipcar. Founded in 2000. It specializes in car sharing. Number 4, Tesla. No additional information.
Zipcar was an interesting company. I actually remember trying to get a Zipcar in college and it being a very, very difficult process. Come to think of it, I've never seen a Zipcar since then, so I'm going to go ahead and lock in Zipcar.
I'm locking in Bird only because I think it was really helpful during like the pandemic, but I think in practice, making sure that people weren't throwing them into lakes was pretty hard.
Wes, it's up to you, buddy. Which of these 4 companies, Bird, Segway, Zipcar, or Tesla, have failed because of their timing?
Just because I'm not picking the same one Tyler does. And he answered before me, which is my own fault. Let's do Segway.
Segway. Man, and I'm going to start from the top here. Bird Incorporated has actually done pretty good. They have dockless scooters. They're huge on the East Coast. So that's probably why we were like, absolutely.
She wouldn't know. She wouldn't know.
I was going to say, I've seen some birds recently.
Yeah. We'll go down now to Zipcar. It was founded in 2000, the car sharing. It did really well in urban areas. Tyler had a bad experience, but actually it's been growing and it's done pretty well since then. Finally, Tesla is the best company of all time. So I'm just going to keep bringing ways to fanboy about it. And then finally, Wes is correct. Segway mistimed the market. They were too early. In 2001, they made the coolest personal electric scooter. You could stand on it and like lean forward and like look absolutely ridiculous. And it essentially did not gain any adoption. It was really cool. People talked about it. Some police officers used it on the East Coast.
I swear I see security guards still use it to this day, but I guess maybe it's not the Segway brands.
Yeah, because you have an elevated platform so you can kind of see more and you can go a little faster than someone who's running.
I have seen someone where they had installed like a Segway contraption into the back of their van, so that they could take their Segway and then it would just like, they would pull up and it would just like spit the Segway out so that they could then ride the Segway and never have to walk.
That's some dedication to a Segway right there. Like you made a car adaptation for your Segway. That's awesome.
It was probably the Segway founder thinking about it.
It was Mr. Segway. Yeah,
That's awesome.
100%.
All right. Question 2. These are online services that mistimed the market. Number 1, Friendster, a social networking site. Number 2, Match.com, a dating site. Number 3, MySpace, another social networking site. And number 4, LinkedIn, a professional networking and social site.
Friendster.
Which of these mistime the market?
Friendster, 100%.
What happened to MySpace?
Tom. I mean, you can't vote against Tom. He was everybody's friend on MySpace. Tom's a legend.
They say like everything you put on the internet is forever, but I can't find my MySpace photos.
To anyone who's watching, I'm pulling up my MySpace right now and seeing if I can share it.
The fact that you know where to access your MySpace.
Can you actually still see your... Oh, my God.
Hold on. I still remember my URL.
I actually tried to recover mine recently, but it was tied to like my college email address, which, you know, they deactivate after you leave school. And I've been unable to get access.
My top 8 is Jessica Hales, Michelle Fogwell, Josh's ex, my sister, my other sister, my brother. Josh Bowman is my top 8.
Yes!
Wow. We go back.
I made it.
Josh Hiller and then a J, who I have no idea who that is.
I'm going to go with MySpace. I never used Friendster. Like, I've heard of it. I don't really know what it is.
Awesome. Good. Locked in. We locked it in. Amantha with MySpace.
She's locked. Well, here's the thing. You talk about timing. I mean, the thing is that at the time, Match.com, it probably tanked a little bit because it was well ahead of its time for all the other dating apps. I hate that I agree with Wes, but I mean, it's probably Friendster. Yeah, I'm going to go Friendster too.
Is that your final answer?
I'm locking in.
Are you sure?
Sure.
Are you absolutely sure? I'll give you one last chance.
Okay, no, I'll go Match.com.
It is indeed not Match.com.
Dang it.
Got him.
Yes, yet again. We got Tyler.
Didn't Match.com like kill it?
Okay, look, I got some info, okay? Match.com, it started out about the profile, having like a good profile. That was their thing. But then in the like mid 2000s, it got really good at kind of an algorithm for matching. They were the early matching algorithm people. So they took off and they pivoted a few times over the years. Still going strong. MySpace, launched in 2003, was known for its customizable profiles and music sharing, was one of the most popular social networking sites for quite a while. It was for 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, and then started losing some popularity in 2009. Still exists, and that was a great guess, but it's not the worst of the companies. The very worst was Friendster. It was the number 1 biggest social media site for exactly 3 months. It had millions of users. Everyone got on Friendster. It absolutely blew up in 2002. And then every one of those users went to MySpace and then later Facebook. It basically had the concept, but none of the features to keep the people. Man, and that is perfect. So Wes gets another +1. And finally, automobiles that made a permanent mark on history or failed because they mistimed the market. Number 1.
All right, here comes another Tesla plug, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
A Ford Taurus. A groundbreaking car in the American auto industry. In 1986, it was introduced and featured sleek aerodynamic design. It was a significant departure from boxy shapes that were common. Number 2, the DeLorean, 1981. Famous from the Back to the Future movies, had a rear-powered engine for optimal balance and performance, an exhilarating driving experience. Number 3, the C Mazda MX-5 Miata. That was launched in 1989. It launched in a couple different places in 1989. And option number 4, the Tesla Model X, a high-performance electric SUV. The performance version can accelerate from 0 to 60 miles an hour in 2.5 seconds, making it one of the fastest mass production SUVs with the coolest doors on the market.
Is Tesla sponsoring the podcast?
Not yet.
The fanboy.
Didn't the DeLorean guy get busted for selling like a ton of drugs?
I hope
Apropos,
so.
right?
Oh, we got some insights from the drug lord herself.
Yeah, I'm going to lock in DeLorean. It's a cool car. It is a cool car, but I don't think I've seen another model of the DeLorean other than the one that's in the Back to the Future movies.
Yeah, I'm going to say DeLorean too. Did you find it? Did he get busted for drawings?
Oh, I'll let you know. I have to know what the guesses are. The Ford Taurus, the DeLorean, the Mazda Miata, or the Tesla Model X.
I mean, of course, I think it's the DeLorean, but I'm not going to say it. I refuse. Josh, I know you own a Tesla, but you're a real Miata kind of guy. I feel like
you're a real Miata kind of guy. An insult I didn't know I needed until right now.
I feel like I don't see nearly as many Miatas on the road today as I've seen in years past, so I'm going to lock in the Mazda Miata.
So you've seen more DeLoreans than you've seen Mazda?
I just can't agree with Wes. I'm sorry. You guys enjoy your points.
The Mazda Miata was a major success. It reinvigorated interest in the Miata and has become the best-selling two-seat convertible in all of sports car history. So, big no. Man, Amantha and Wes, you guys are correct. The DeLorean in 1981, it came out. They had a massive company. They had a mass production line. They were going to release this car, right? And it failed because the timing was terrible. It was an expensive, crazy sports car, and it was the very beginning of a massive economic recession in the 1980s. Totally unfortunate for how cool it would have been if we had more of those around. So that's it for the flop. Nice job, everybody. Except for Tyler, who called me a Miata guy.
Well, now that's a compliment, right?
It could be.
Oh, man. Let's see. So tallying these up, Wes got 3 points this episode. Wes 14, Tyler 4. Guests absolutely crushing it. Thanks for representing, Amantha. And that's it for the flop. Awesome.
All right. And for the last part of the podcast, Tyler's quick hitter questions. Go ahead. Take it away here, Cope.
All right, Amanda. Rules are simple. I ask the question. You give us your first answer. Number 1, what is your morning routine?
Coffee, breakfast, emails.
But not coffee within the first hour and a half, right?
So, I mean, I know what you're supposed to do, but I definitely have coffee first thing.
Let's see here. If you could bring any fictional creature into reality, what would it be?
Unicorns.
All right, easy enough.
Had that locked and loaded. I love that.
They inspire hope and magic. Why wouldn't you?
All right, next question. Amantha, do you believe in aliens?
Yes.
Okay. What is the worst advice you've either received or routinely heard?
This is going to be contested, but work-life balance. Because as a founder, that's like really achieving my dream. Like I understand work-life balance is important, but every time I'm working towards my dream. So any minute I'm not working, I feel like I'm not working towards my dream. So I think that's probably going to be controversial, but
we like controversy.
And to each their own, right?
I would agree. I mean, there's work and there's life, and sometimes there's both, sometimes there's neither.
What's the neither look like? What was that saying?
That's just the founder hell.
Last question here. So, Amantha, what was the worst job you've ever had?
Working at Ruby's Diner. So we had to wear those ridiculous outfits. It was during high school, and one of my coworkers came in, and she had these hot pink nails done because it was prom time, and they told her she had to take her nails off because it didn't conform to the red and white Ruby's outfit, and she quit on the spot.
Shout out to that coworker. Go her.
Yeah, it's like you're hiring high school kids. Come on, like. So I got a question for you guys.
Ooh, a reversal. I like it.
Oh yeah.
If someone was going to give you $500,000 tomorrow, what business idea would you start?
I heard about this really cool idea in the pharmacy space.
So if I just do one for fun, right?
Buy more Teslas.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I think if I just had $500,000, I would start my own professional laser tag sport league. I would make it really competitive. I'd make it really fun and silly, and it'd be all about like getting nerds who are always inside, who never exercise, out doing cardio like 4 times a week. I think it'd be really fun.
I mean, if pickleball can do it, then I think you have some really good odds.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to piggyback on that. I had one in mind, but I'm pivoting. Pickleball is exploding. I would find something within pickleball to invest in. I mean, I could invest in Major League Pickleball, but probably in some form of pickleball training.
Pickleball Little League.
Ooh, a junior pickleball league. Now that does not exist. This has got legs. Let's do it.
All right, for all the people that have kids out there, you guys are automatically subscribed to the Little League of Pickleball.
Ooh, I like that a lot.
Genius. Beat that, Wes.
I know. Dang.
Shows how creative you are on 2 hours of sleep and a Monster Energy drink.
You know, one I've always toyed around with is, blinds, right? You twist the little stick and it opens the blind and closes the blinds. I want to build like a mechanism that just, you click a button and it automatically does that, and you can attach it to your blinds that you already have without having to get a whole new system in place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an engineer. I don't know what that would look like. So if there's any people who are smarter than me, which there are too many people that are smarter than me, that know how to make that idea into a reality, let me know.
Find some college kids to build it for free.
Yeah, I honestly think that is like one of the main lessons that I've learned from this podcast is college kids, they do stuff for free. Well, that does it for another episode of The Flop. Amantha, thank you so much for coming onto the show. It was a pleasure talking with you. A lot of great lessons here. And if people wanted to reach out to you to learn more about your business or just learn more about you, where would be the best place for them to find you at?
LinkedIn. Feel free to provide my email address. Yeah, Amantha at rx-poost.com. But yeah, love connecting with people on LinkedIn as well.
I'll put the email down into the description. Last plug, if you haven't yet subscribed to the podcast, please do. If you find us at least remotely entertaining. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. But that's my plug. So I'm sticking with it. But otherwise, thank you guys for listening. This is The Flop. Take care.